You are about to learn something that you need to know how to do. Poppy Balser, what are you going to do today?
I'm going to show you folks how I paint an ocean wave, and I'm going to keep it fairly simple. Just one wave, a little bit of foam, some reflections in the water. That's it.
Okay, show us your reference image so people can
Sure.
see what you're going to paint. All right, now you're going to show us the steps. You've got 3 steps. Step 1, all right, step 2, and step 3. So if you guys hang with us, we're going to show you how to paint that. Poppy, is this going to be in watercolor?
This is going to be in watercolor, yes.
All right, well, let's get this show started.
It's Art School Live with Eric Rhodes. Now, here's your host, Eric Rhodes.
If you're watching this live, Happy New Year. This is the first broadcast of 2022. I'm Eric Rhodes, publisher of Fine Art Connoisseur, Plein magazine, Paint Tube, and Streamline Art. We're happy to be here with you, happy to be anywhere, quite frankly. Our job here on this daily broadcast is to keep you learning and growing and occupied and not worrying about everything that's going on in the world. We all know that it's still crazy out there, and different levels of crazy depending on where you're watching. We have people watching from all over the world. And when you're watching, if you would do me a favor and just go into the comments section, no matter where you are, in the States or in Canada, Mexico, or anywhere else in the world, just pop in and say, hey, I'm watching from, and tell us. And we have a prize for you. Today's prize is the coveted Plein magazine apron. And this is a great apron because it's adjustable, has deep pockets. It's made out of blue jean material. And as a result, you can win that today by making a comment. We will pick from the comments anywhere in the world. Make sure you leave your comment. We have a really terrific gift for you. If you go to watercolorlive.com/101 tips, it's 101 watercolor painting tips, techniques, and tricks. And yes, there are tips and tricks. And so you want to make sure you get that. Just go to watercolorlive.com/101 tricks. Now, the last time we did the broadcast, which was before the end of the year, we gave away a subscription to Fine Art Connoisseur. The winner is Leslie Carter of Huntington, West Virginia. All right, Leslie, we are so happy to give that to you. You can get your own subscription for the year if you wish at fineartconnoisseur.com. We would love for you to subscribe to this. We want to hit 100,000 on YouTube. If you go to YouTube and search Streamline Art Video, you'll find us there. And just go ahead and subscribe on Streamline Art. Also, if you would follow me on Instagram, I'm trying to grow my Instagram, something that is one of my missions for the year. And if you would participate, that would be really terrific. Again, our guest today is Poppy Balser. We're going to take this reference image and show you the different steps of watercolor. And we should tell you that we have an event coming up this month, the 27th through 29th. It's Watercolor Live. It features some of the greatest watercolor artists on the face of the earth, and you're going to have a chance to learn from them, including our guest, Poppy Balser. We're going to learn lots of different techniques. You know, you're going to find people who paint watercolor that looks like oils. You're going to have people who do loose and expressive. You can find different subject matters, and it's a great opportunity. We have some of the greatest artists in the world participating, and you want to make sure that you're part of this. There's still time to sign up. And if you go to watercolorlive.com, you can sign up there. We'd love to have you. It is going to be an absolute world-class event. We think this year is going to be a lot bigger than last year. It's looking like it could be already. And so please go ahead and get signed up and make sure that you get an opportunity to see this. There's also a chance for you to get replays on it. So make sure that you check it out at watercolorlive.com. Now let's get to our guest, Poppy Balser, who is already set up and ready to do her demo. Poppy, take it away.
All right. Well, I am ready, and I have my drawing here, and I hope I've lined this up so you folks can see it.
Perfecto.
Great. I'm going to block that view for a second, though, with a view of my palette. I've mixed up some colors ahead of time. I've got just straight blue here, and then a blue-green mixture. And I'll talk about the colors I'm using as I'm going, but I want to leap right into painting because I want to get this going for you. So what I have here is a mixture of cobalt blue and some raw sienna, and I'm going to put that in the sky. And I'm not going to take a long time at this. I'm going to do this as quickly as I can because there's two advantages to going quickly. First advantage is the paint flows together nicely and the paint does a lot of the work for me, which I really think is an advantage to watercolor. So another advantage with watercolor is anything that's going to be darker later, I can paint right through it. So the only thing I have to think about is leaving the bits that are going to be foam white. So I've gone around these preliminary bits of foam here, but this bit of water here is going to be darker later, so I can paint right through it.
Okay. Now, I think it's important to point out that your sketch was big shapes.
That's right. Yeah. When I do a watercolor, the point of my drawing is to remind me of where the white shapes are. And then everything else I sort of figure out as I go along. Once I have, because, oops, that was really dark. That's darker than I meant it to be, but that's okay. I can just sort of splash that around some more.
So your intention is to not put any color where the white shapes are.
That's correct. That's right. I may come back in and add some color to those later, but I can't take the color off once it's on there. So my first plan is to leave them white in the first go and then think about amending the whites later. Now this is really fast and splashy.
We like flash and fast and splashy.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. This foreground area here, I'll develop slightly, but not quite as much as the wave itself. And you can see I'm mixing some other colors in there. I've got some raw sienna. I've got a little bit of quinacridone rose just to change the colors of the water in the foreground, because the water in the foreground often has bits of sand and stuff mixed up into it, or maybe, you know, the shore underneath is showing through. And so that changes the color of the water.
Dave has a question about
Sure.
what kind of angle that you're using on when you're painting. Do you have any angle or are you flat?
Right now it's flat because I want this to stay wet for as long as possible. And what I'm doing right now is I'm softening some edges just with a sort of a rough brush so that I'm not getting hard edges to the foam, because, you know, when you're watching waves in nature, there are no hard edges. Everything's in motion, everything's splashing around. And if I create hard edges in my painting, it tends to look not very natural to me. So back to Dave's question, which was the angle. Right now it's flat. I may tip it up later, but right now it's flat. So now I've got most of my paper covered, and I'm going to start adding other colors.
You don't even need to wait for it to dry?
Well, no.
Yeah, you sounded a little tentative on that there, Poppy.
Well, sometimes it just dries and you can't help it. It depends. With watercolor, it depends a lot on what's going on in your surroundings. Now that got those soft edges there got a little bit too wet. So I'm not creating the texture of the foam with a tissue. I'm just lifting out extra fluid.
Poppy, you have a lot of people following from Canada. I see Quebec, I see Nova Scotia, Halifax. I love Halifax. Now you're in, what town are you in?
I'm in Digby, which has a population of about 2,000. Halifax is our capital city. It's the major city in the province, so it's the closest big city, really.
I see people watching from England and
lovely.
from Norway, and let's see here, Canada, England. Did I say England? India, Cornwall. Welcome, everybody.
Yeah, that's really exciting. It's cool to have people from all around the world connecting through your program and through the internet in general.
Just got to hang out with the right people, Poppy.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. All right. So what I did was I put a bit of yellow and into this area to create the green under the wave. There's also the green on the top of the wave here.
Can you talk just briefly about how light comes through waves so that we can just kind of think about that logically?
Absolutely, yes. So a wave starts out as swell in the ocean. And what that means is the wind pushes the water up into progressively larger bumps. And as they near shore, the wave develops a triangular shape. And what that means is it's thinner at the top and it's wider at the base. And I'm just going to clip my paper down because it's starting to bend. So at the top, the wave tends to be more transparent because there's a lot more light coming through the top where it's just a thin layer of water, whereas at the base, it's quite a bit darker. So what I intend to do as I go along is darken this bit up here. If you can see where my hand is, I'm going to make that bit darker because there's more water there and we're looking into the face of the wave, deep into the water below it. And so there's less light down there. Whereas up here, this part is quite thin and so it's more transparent and it'll look lighter.
Hello, Switzerland, and hello, Latvia. Welcome. Ontario. Southampton. Oh, we've got an international thing going on today. Another Switzerland. All right. Austria. How exciting. This is such a cool thing.
Yeah. Well, you know what you've done to bring out, bring artists forward and give them a platform to share what they do is really an incredibly valuable service.
Well, thank you.
Oh, well, thank you.
Hello, Belgium. Hello, Nepal. Wow. Well, I hope we get all these people from all around the world to watch on Watercolor Live. That'd be pretty cool. What are you going to be doing on Watercolor Live? I know you're not doing this.
No, I'm doing a landscape on Watercolor Live.
Okay.
It's a Nova Scotia landscape. It's got some fields and it's got a little bit of the ocean. It's got some nice maritime atmosphere. So there's, a misty background and hopefully it'll be interesting and educational for everybody.
Of course it will be.
Yeah. All right. So now
you're in some good company too, aren't you?
I absolutely am. It's really amazing to know that I'm in the same sort of program as Mr. Castanet and the other ones that you have on your program.
Some of the top artists in the world. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's really very
well,
cool.
and you're right in there. So that's good.
Well, thank you.
We wouldn't pick you unless you were some of the best.
Oh, thank you, Eric. That if you keep that up, my kids will say, "Mom, you're famous."
Yeah. Well, you are famous now. You're all over the
guess
world.
So. Yeah. All right. So while this is still damp, I'm adding bits of color sort of where I think it needs it. And what I tend to do is try and keep the whole painting moving along with sort of equal levels of finish on all parts. It's not like I'll finish one part and then go on and leave another part undone and then go on to the next part. I try and sort of keep everything moving along. So that's sort of why I'm moving from place to place on the paper.
All right.
Yeah. So while this pit is still wet here, I think what I'm going to do is start developing some of those darker tones that I talked about, the depth under the wave. So I need a little bit thicker paint for that. And I can go back in and paint while it's still wet as long as I have less fluid in my brush than is on the paper. So if I had a really watery mixture in my brush here and I started painting on this, it would spread out and dilute this paint here that's already there and maybe create a background. But as long as I've got more paint and less water on my brush, I can add to it without creating backgrounds, which are,
great tip.
Yeah.
Speaking of tips, so you mentioned that you paint outdoors even in the wintertime.
I
Somebody just posted that make sure you put a little vodka in your water so that your water doesn't freeze. And of course, put a little vodka in your mouth so that your mouth doesn't freeze.
Well, that the vodka is a watercolorist tip. What I found though, if it's too cold, it doesn't matter how much vodka you use, your rinse water may stay thawed, but as soon as you get your wash on your paper, it'll freeze. And then you've got a layer of ice on your paper, and that can create some problems when you're painting outside. Yeah.
So my friends in Russia tell me that they mix vodka into their white because white gets really, really stiff in oil paint. And so
Yeah.
they mix vodka in and when they're out
Mhm.
painting in the winter.
Yeah.
Of course, they're
I
they're
Mhm.
also drunk. It doesn't matter.
Well, as a retired healthcare professional, getting getting drinking too much outside is really dangerous because alcohol actually is a vasodilator, which means it opens up your blood vessels and you cool off faster.
I did
So
not know
just
that.
keep that in mind. All right, back. I'll put my artist hat back on. Um, yeah, the vodka does help. If I'm painting in oils outside, I put medium in my white. I've never tried putting vodka in my white.
So you are also an oil painter.
I am also an oil painter. Yes.
So
Yeah.
talk to us about why you think it's important to be able to have multiple mediums.
Well, there's always the flexibility of being able to paint outside when it's below freezing. If it's too cold for watercolors, I take my oils out, and that gives me more opportunity to paint outside. But oils are also just so completely different. They're they're a nice switch sometimes, because oils are I like to call oils a correctable medium, whereas watercolor, after a certain point, you can't really take paint off. Like with an oil, you can scrape it. I'm just flattening out a wrinkle in the paper here. Um, with oil paint, if I put something down and I don't like it, I can scrape it off.
Yeah.
But with watercolor, once it's down, sometimes it's kind of stuck.
Well, I find that once I started painting watercolor more seriously after Watercolor Live and
Mhm.
also even pastel. And what I have found is it's really making me a better painter overall because they
Mhm.
all act so much differently that I have different techniques that I've learned that I can now apply across mediums. You know, there are
Yes.
watercolor techniques that you know you never think to use in oil painting, but they work really beautifully well.
Yeah. Yeah. Like starting an oil painting with a really runny mixture with your medium and sort of lay it in transparently like you would a watercolor.
Yep.
Yeah,
Somebody
for
tuned
sure.
in from Russia. Hello,
Oh,
Russia.
wonderful.
We're going to be over there in September, bringing a group of people over.
That's pretty cool.
I think so.
Yeah, I've seen photos and posts from your trips there in the past and thought, holy cow, what an opportunity.
Yeah, we can only take 50 people, and so we were sold out before pandemic, and then we were going to go last September, but we just didn't feel it was comfortable to do it. So we're hoping to be able to go this year. So we've still got some seats because not everybody has re-signed up yet, but it's going to go fast.
Yeah, well, I'm sure the ones that do sign up and do go are going to have a fantastic time because,
Yeah. Well, we have a private, get this, we have a private viewing inside the Hermitage.
that's amazing.
Meaning our group has, you know, after it's closed, we have access. We're going to the Ilya Repin studio. We're going to the art school in St. Petersburg, also the one in Moscow. We're going to the great Russian museums, having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
What brush are you using?
Ah, that's a good question. Right now, I'm using a 1/2 inch size. This is a Rosemary and Company, one stroke, pure sable series 7320. It is my absolute favorite brush. I have it in four sizes now. It's a long flat. Um, and what I like about this brush is it holds a lot of fluid, an incredible amount of fluid for its size. The flat edge with the corners lets me make fine marks in one moment and then switch to making a big mark with the brush when I use the whole brush at the same time. So it's a brush that it's incredibly versatile. And I'm a big fan of it.
We're going to put your website in the comments section.
Oh, thank you.
And if somebody wants to put in what that brush was, that would be helpful. Rosemary is an old friend of mine.
She makes lovely brushes.
She does. She puts one piece of her hair into every brush.
Wow, I was not aware of that. That's pretty cool. So she's here with us, in other words.
Yeah, well, she is. Let's hope she sticks around for a while.
Yeah. Let's hope.
That's already looking lovely.
Oh, well, thank you.
What paper is that? We didn't talk about the
Sure.
paper.
Oh, no, we didn't. Yeah, I sort of leapt into painting without talking about materials at all. This is Arches rough paper, 140 pound. I buy it both by the sheet and by the roll. This is just a sheet cut in quarters. This is a 11 by 14 or a quarter sheet. And after all that talk about Rosemary's brush, I'm switching over just for a second to a really old, really beat up brush that lets me make ragged marks, which works well for showing, creating the texture of foam. So that's what I'm doing here. I won't use this for very long, but.
Old brushes can come in handy for things like that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I've got one of these in my plein air kit and one in my studio for this, just this purpose. Raggedy.
Talk about plein air painting, because there are
Sure.
people watching who've never done it.
Well, there's nothing quite like it. Going outside to paint is real for me. It's a very important, excuse me, part of my painting practice. Going outside to paint means that I can look at the scene, not just for the 15 minutes it takes to park the car and take a photo and leave, but I'm there for hours. So I can think about what I'm looking at. I can think about how best to show the scene that I'm looking at. And sometimes more interesting pictures reveal themselves over time while I'm there. Whereas, if I just stop and look at the place and say, oh, yep, here I've got a picture of the, whatever, the lighthouse or whatever first caught my eye, I might not realize that there's this absolutely fascinating scene bracketed by a tree in the background.
I'm going to show you a reference image real
Sure.
quickly. So
Yeah,
everybody
please
can
do.
see it.
Yeah. So what I'm doing here is I'm laying in some of those ripples in the foreground. I'm leaving, oh, wait, let's see. Oh, no, we're back to the picture. I'm leaving the foam in the foreground fairly light. But putting in some ripples to create the sense of moving water.
Now, some people will use a resist to
Mhm.
keep the white from getting painted over.
Yeah, masking fluid is a common one. Some people use packing tape actually, which is kind of cool. I've never tried that. I keep meaning to, but I never get around to it. But I paint around the white areas. I used masking fluid a couple of times when I was starting out years and years ago. And then I had a picture with a really intricate drawing. I put the masking fluid on it. And then, whether it was kids or whatever, I didn't get back to it for a couple of weeks. And when I did, I couldn't remove the masking fluid. It was stuck glued to the paper.
Oops.
Oops is right. So that was the last time I used masking fluid. All right. So this is all quite wet. So I'm going to leave that for a little while. And I want to develop the ocean in the background, because that'll
Right.
help bring the foam forward as well. Whoops, that's too wet though.
I'll tell you what, Poppy.
Yes.
I'm just going to give you a minute to let things dry,
Sure.
and I'll make a couple of quick announcements, because it sounds like you need a moment for drying.
Yes, that's a good idea.
All right. So our guest today is Poppy Balser. I'm Eric Rhodes. And in case you missed that, I'm with Fine Art Connoisseur, Plein Air Magazine, and Paint Tube. We renamed, in case you're wondering, we had all these video brands that we have put together over the years. We had Little Adol, Creative Catalyst, and Streamline Art Video, which we created. And so we decided it was getting confusing because they each had separate websites and we were sending a lot of different emails from a lot of different people. So we decided for the beginning of 2022 to consolidate the brands under one brand, which is Paint Tube. Now, Paint Tube is how we've always delivered things digitally. And we now have a channel. You can find it on Roku. Soon you'll find it on Apple TV and on Amazon Fire and on Sanyo televisions. And so you'll be able to watch when you buy your videos from us. Hopefully you will, or not. That's okay. We have a lot of free content on there too. You'll be able to go on and look at your library on your big screen TV at home or wherever you want to watch it. So that's pretty cool. we want to tell you about our American Watercolor. We have a website, a website. We have a newsletter, comes out twice a week now. It's called American Watercolor. It is written by Kelly Kane, who is the former editor of Watercolor Magazine, Watercolor Artist Magazine. She's now our editor of American Watercolor and Plein Air Magazine. And if you're not a subscriber, you might want to check it out at americanwatercolor.net. It's free, comes a couple times a week. We'd love to have you. Also, I want to mention to you that we have, in case you missed it, we have a free gift for you about watercolor. And it's watercolor 101 watercolor painting tips, tricks, and techniques. And you can get it by going to watercolorlive.com, 101 tips. Now, most importantly, I just want to tell you that we've got a big event coming up called Watercolor Live, and I think you're going to love it.
Watercolor enthusiasts unite. Please join us for Watercolor Live 2, a virtual art training opportunity that is now the largest in the world, and a one-of-a-kind opportunity to learn from more than 30 of today's best watercolor artists from around the globe. Get registered now and block off January the 26th till the 29th, 2022 on your calendar. Then don't let anything get in the way, because you don't want to miss one moment of the incredible instruction, demonstrations, and inspiration our world-class faculty will offer you during this immersive course. And you don't have to travel anywhere, because Watercolor Live is coming directly to you at the place where you are the most comfortable and creative, your own home or studio. Just think, you'll have the best seat in the house where you can hear everything your instructors say and see every brushstroke they make. This year's faculty includes Cindy Barron, Carol Carter, Alvaro Castanet, Chien Chungwei, Kathleen Giles, Laurie Goldstein-Warren, Paul Jackson, Amit Kirpour, Tom Lynch, Carol McSweeney, Julie Gilbert-Pollard, Carrie Waller, Kathleen Alexander, Poppy Balser, Susan Blackwood, Michael Holter, Wenny Huang, David Poxon, Thomas Schaller, John Salmonen, Birgit O'Connor, John Stern, Richie Vios, Stuart White, and many more to come. Keep checking watercolorlive.com to see who else will be offering their best to you during this content-packed event. Let's hear from a few guests who attended our first Watercolor Live virtual event.
Hey, this is amazing. This is ridiculous. Anybody who's not here, it is such their loss. I can't even think straight anymore. This is so insane.
I mean, I've been painting, like I said, for years, but if you just don't do it, you lose some of that. It inspires you to get going again. It really does.
The first day I didn't paint. I just sat and took notes and did a few sketches. The second day I got into painting. I didn't think I could manage doing it in an hour. And I had a blast.
Your lineup of people was so diverse and so many different styles.
This is amazing, totally amazing.
Each of these artists took a chance and joined in for that first Watercolor Live event, fully engaged in every moment, and have experienced a major return on their investment. And so can you. Check out watercolorlive.com often to see added faculty, the finalised agenda, and the materials lists for each session, so you can be ready to work right along with the professional faculty artists who want nothing more than to help you become the absolute best artist you want to be.
Okay, now we're going to get back to our guest, Poppy Balser. First off, I've got to get this off the screen. I apologize. Okay, Poppy, now your paint has dried, hopefully, and you can get back and do a little bit more here.
Sure. It's set up a little bit. One thing I didn't have with me today is a hairdryer, because I never use a hairdryer. Sometimes people ask, well, do you use a hairdryer to hurry things along? And I don't. So I didn't even think to one in my gear as I got ready for this.
Poppy is not in her studio today. She had to go elsewhere for better internet. So
that's right. Yeah. So I'm just sort of letting nature take its course here. And this has set up enough, though, that I can add some water in the background now, which is great. So I painted the sky and the whole scene in one go. just to sort of establish some tone on the paper when I was getting started. And now I'm coming back in to darken up the water of the ocean. I switched to a slightly smaller brush, mostly because this one is brand new and has a wonderful point, which lets me create pretty pretty intricate little marks if and when I want to. Right now I don't, because the point of this painting is not the water in the background. The point of this painting is the wave in the foreground. But I still like to have that degree of control. And I'm not painting every bit of this background water either, because I want it to look like the ocean. I want it to look like there's some wave activity in the background there. So that's almost good enough. I realize I don't have my horizon completely straight, and that'll bug me, so I have to fix that there. That just evens out the horizon a bit. One thing with painting a seascape or any sort of ocean scene is it pays to think about your horizon. You don't want to put it right smack in the middle of the picture, but you don't want to put it smack in the middle of the picture. And the other thing you don't want to do is make it the darkest line, the darkest contrast in your whole scene. So even if this water out here was super dark and the sky was really light, I might not necessarily paint it that way, because that would draw everybody's line way out into the background of the picture, and I don't necessarily want that. So that's always something to think about when painting the ocean. So I'm going to leave that to set up, and I'm going to work in the foreground a bit more. And while I was off screen, Eric, I took a moment and set my picture up and stepped back a bit so I could look at it, because that gives me a chance to think about what do I need to work on next. And the things that I know it's something we all need to remember to do sometimes. And it never hurts to take a moment and just look at it from a distance and see how it's reading.
You want to know a trick?
Sure.
I don't do this all the time, but I take my paper towel roll and I put it in the back of my studio. And then when I need a new paper towel, I force myself to step back. Otherwise, I forget.
That's a good trick. Yeah. And if you don't have a lot of room in your studio, what some people do, and actually I have a mirror in my studio behind me when I'm painting. So I've only got about 8 feet to step back from my painting surface. But what I can do is step to the side and look at the mirror, which reflects my painting. So that does two things. It gives me a chance to look at the painting from a distance, and it also gives me a chance to look at the painting in reverse, which just is an extra way of sort of checking the design and seeing if maybe, there's something that won't look quite right when it's finished. Because when we're looking at it up close and concentrating on what we're doing, we don't always think about sort of the image as a broader whole. We're so busy getting each individual detail right that we don't think about how the whole thing scans, and looking at it backwards in a mirror sometimes helps.
Also, sometimes looking at it on your phone. This
Yep.
weekend, I shot a little video I was going to post of a painting I was doing. And when I looked at it on the video, I realized there were some problems with it. So I deleted the video and went and fixed the problems.
Absolutely. I've done that, taken a shot of the picture on the easel to put on Instagram, and then I look at it before I post it. I'm like, oh, no, I've got to do some more to this before anybody else sees that. So yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. So what I was doing there was I was lifting off a little highlight on the back of the wave. So what we're looking at in this picture here actually is we've got the face of the wave coming towards us, the triangular shape that I was talking about. But when the top of the triangle gets too thin and too heavy, it curls over, and that's what makes that curled shape of a wave. And when we see the back, the curled over wave, often the top of it, which is smooth, is reflecting the sky. So it's a little bit light compared to everything else around it. So I'd lost that, and I was lifting that out there while I was working a minute ago. All right, so now I want to develop the foreground a little bit. I want to put some more shape in the foam here and here as well, and just develop this area a bit more. And Eric, if we're running low on time, just let me know. I've got the piece that I did to show the steps at the beginning here with me, so I could always use that to sort of talk about final steps if we run out of time.
All right, no problem right now.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you. So now I'm almost using dry brush technique to deliver small amounts of pigment with some texture being picked up by the rough surface of the paper. When I'm painting a seascape or painting the water, well, when I'm painting anything really, but especially when I'm painting the water, my goal is to make it look convincing, make it look like it's moving without painting each and every detail of the water. Because I find if I paint around, say, individual droplets or highly detailed scene with a very precise curve of a wave, it ends up looking more frozen than flowing. And I much sooner go for the flowing and less detailed. So that's what's in the back of my mind when I'm working here, is how do I make this look like it's water in motion without overstating it, because overstating it never works.
Cindy Beaumont has in the comments, she says, I need a studio. Cindy, you just gave me a great idea. I don't know if I'll pull this off or not, but I came up with this idea of the ultimate studio giveaway. And I'm going to see if I can pull this off, but where we give away a studio easel, a plein air easel, oil paint, watercolor, acrylic, wash, pastel, the whole enchilada, paper, panels. I'm going to see if I can put that together. If you guys think that's a good idea, put something in the comments, because if you don't think it's a good idea, I won't do it. But you know me, if I put something in my head, I'll usually do it.
That sounds like, I can't access the comments right now, so I'll just say that sounds like that would make somebody's life if they could win that. If they wanted to paint and didn't have access to the right materials, that would be a really princely thing to win.
Well, I was thinking I should add an outdoor building, but then again, not everybody could do it.
Unless you give them a truck to haul behind them. You
just want a new car.
Yeah, that would be quite something.
I see New Canaan, Connecticut. I've never seen that one here before. Welcome. I love that place. Joe Aubrey says, holy guacamole. Yes.
Yeah, you may have started something there, Eric.
That's all right. That's how if I put something out publicly, then I kind of have to do it.
Well, that's what they say. Public accountability makes it easier to stick with a New Year's resolution, say, or anything else like that, right?
Put your ideas in the comments of what else I should put in this Ultimate Studio giveaway. Somebody says, I need a cabin. All right.
All right, so what I'm doing here now is I'm developing the foam in the foreground, and I don't want to overstate it. If you remember in the reference photo, there was a fairly light valued area in the foreground where it's mostly foam with laying on top of the water, and there's a few shapes of clear water showing through, but it's mostly foam. So I can't get too dark here. And I'm trying to use my brush strokes to suggest the shapes and textures of the water as it's coming up against, there's rocks in the foreground that you can't see. I zoomed in past them, but they are lying under the water, and so shaping how it behaves. And I'm trying to suggest that with the shapes that I'm laying down here. And I'm trying to use my brush strokes so that I make it look like water, again, without overstating it.
Poppy, will you do a favor?
Sure.
People have joined in late. Would you just show your palette one more time and explain
Absolutely.
the colors?
Yes, it looks different than when it started. So this is my palette, and the colors I'm using are Raw Sienna Light, which is a Daniel Smith paint. It's a synthetic earth yellow that I don't use so much as a yellow, but I use it to mix greens for the water. I find that this Raw Sienna Light and Cobalt Blue make a really close approximation of what the water looks like around here. I'm also using Hansa Yellow Medium, that's my mixing yellow, so that's where the stronger greens are coming from. I'm using quinacridone Rose, which is a slightly pinky red that I find mixes really well with the other colors I use. And even though it's slightly pinky, I can get an orange if I need an orange. Don't need an orange today, but I could, could with that. And so there's the cobalt blue. I used a little bit of cerulean blue in the water at the beginning. And even though there's other colors on my palette here, I'm not using them today. I'm trying to keep it fairly simplified and unified.
That was helpful. Thank you very much. I hope you guys are enjoying this. If you are, make a comment, and please tell us where you're from if you've not told us that yet. We like people to tune in from all over the world, and we're seeing people from all over. Now the comments are getting crazy now, Poppy. Everybody's got big vision. Now they're wanting me to give away an RV for plein air painting.
Well, I think you've started something.
Yeah, well, that could cost me a few $100,000.
There you go. What you need to do is find an RV company that is eager to sponsor it, so that to inspire other artists to pick up their RV and tour the country.
When we bought our RV, we were looking at them, and they make these things called toy haulers, which the back is like a garage. And so I was actually going to get one of those so I could build a studio in it, put a wall easel in it. And that would be fun.
Yeah, I agree. That would be fun. Yeah. I'm darkening the top of the wave here. When the waves turn over, there's often a bit of the deeper water showing through right at the top. So that's what I'm trying to show here. And it's a long bar with some stripy variations in it. So that's why I'm dragging this paint down like this.
All right.
Yeah.
That's looking good.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I think perhaps every artist has the dream. Well, maybe not every artist, but most plein air artists have the sort of bucket list dream of driving across the country and painting their way across. Yeah. So you've probably touched a nerve.
Well, I think so. And that's why I bought an RV, so I could do that. I just don't have much time. But so I said to my wife, I'll buy the RV if you'll drive. That way I can work. But now she refuses to drive because it's such a beast.
Yeah, the bigger the vehicle, the harder to drive, basically. Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I see people on here from all over the world, so I think now I need to rent an RV and start out in Europe. I see here Geneva, Switzerland. That'd be a good starting place.
There you go.
Yeah. I have another idea too that I had over the holiday is I'd like to, I do these painters retreats. I do one fall color week, and I do one in the spring in the Adirondacks. And I was thinking I should do all the national parks. Those classical lodges in the national parks. I don't know if I could pull that off or not, but that'd be fun.
That would be amazing. Yeah. I haven't made it yet to Acadia National Park, which is really close to me relatively compared to the rest
we're doing Fall Color Week in Acadia National Park this fall.
Are you really? Oh,
yeah.
Boy,
and it's fun because we're all together for a week, and we paint all day together throughout the park. Mm-hmm. And we're staying in the lesser known part of the park, which is actually prettier, and also there's no tourists, which is great.
Is that Schoodic? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Schoodic Peninsula.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, that would be a marvelous place to be because Maine is beautiful.
That's where I met Barbara Tapp. She came, and she's on the comments right now.
Oh, hi, Barbara.
We all become one big family. We
absolutely
just kind of hang out together now.
Yeah, I met Barbara at one of the plein air conventions. I'm not sure which one, but one of the earlier ones I went to. And we stayed in touch via Facebook and so on.
What would you tell people who've never been to the plein air convention?
Oh, go. It's a fantastic experience because you get to see so many different painters. And it's not just, excuse me, it's not just the opportunity. Excuse me.
Don't drink the water with your paint in it.
Oh, no, I won't. I learned that lesson long ago. When I'm painting in the studio, my drinking cup goes on the windowsill and my paint cup stays on the painting surface. They're very distinct. So anyways, the plein air convention, I would say go and don't restrict yourself to just the medium that you're interested in. Like if you're a watercolor painter, go check out some of the oil painting demonstrations as well. If you're an oil painter, find a watercolor demonstration to go to, find a pastel demonstration to go to, because you will learn things from every medium that's there. And make sure you go to the paint outs, because they're honestly, as much as I love to watch other people paint, the paint outs are absolutely fabulous. You always choose really nice locations. And if you wander around long enough, you can find other artists painting. And it's so neat to watch how the other people there are interpreting the same scene.
So you're putting a little color on there now.
I
a little
am.
different color.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Sure. Well, when a wave turns over and turns into foam, the water acts almost like a prism. It breaks up the light, and you can see all sorts of colors in there. And often that's influenced by what's stirred up in the water. And you can see I'm putting some down, deciding I don't like it, picking it back up with a tissue. So if there's any sort of sand or seaweed or anything from the shore mixed up into the foam, it will change the color of the foam. So that's where some of that color is coming from.
Ah.
And I'm using those colors also to create some texture in the water as well. Often when we look at a picture of a wave breaking, it's very often overexposed. So the lights of the foam are just white in a photo, but when you look at it, it's not just white if you're there looking at it. So I'm keeping that in the back of my mind as I keep going, as I'm painting here. So there, and the further into it I get, the more muted the colors become, and that's okay. Like here, I'm just like, if I had to explain what color that is, well, it's it's everything that was in my brush, just creating sort of a neutral tone, but that's what we'd more expect to see on the water anyways. We wouldn't see distinct areas of blue and yellow and orange and so on. So I'm creating layers to hopefully get some of that prismatic effect in there.
Poppy, you're a really good teacher.
Well, thank you. You've seen a
I
lot
think
of
we
people
need to, if you guys are enjoying this, give her a like or a thumbs up or a heart or something, and or a comment.
You've seen a lot of people.
Ken is asking, I can't really see, but are there some fish in there? I see a fish.
That's the nice thing about not painting every detail. It leaves some mystery. People can decide whether there's fish or not, right? Leave a little bit to the viewer's imagination.
Absolutely.
So I'm putting a little bit of just a suggestion of some of the waves in the background. I don't want to put too much in there because, again, the background is not the star of the show, but by doing so, that helps brighten up the foam that's in the foreground. And it also helps more delineate that curve of light that's on the top of the wave here.
Also really gives a little bit of warm and cool in there.
Yeah, I've got a little bit of yellow in there to make it a bit greener, which is what you would see if you're looking out at the water when there's just the waves in the distance coming towards you. Again, you're looking at the face of the waves, and depending on where the light's coming from, you might be looking through those waves down into the ocean below, where it is more around here anyways. It's more typically green than blue when you're looking down into the water.
Linda Powell says it makes it look even more believable.
Oh,
hey, if you guys are watching this for the very first time, if you've just discovered Art School Live, please make a comment and just say first timer. Poppy is doing great. Did you teach at the Plein Air Convention? Were you on the watercolor faculty?
I haven't been yet. I was supposed to be in 2020.
Oh, and then
Yeah.
something happened in 2020.
Yeah, funny that.
Kinda,
Yeah.
just a little thing.
Just a little thing. That's right. Yeah, but oh
All
well.
right,
Hopefully,
so, well, we want you to come. We want you to come as soon as you're able.
well, I would like to be able as soon as possible. Yeah. I'm watching what's going on, and it's making it so hard for anybody to plan anything, right? I felt awful for yourself and for everybody involved.
Oh yeah, we were
And
almost out of
resources.
business. I wasn't sure we were going to
Yeah.
make it, but because we had to refund everybody, of course. What we've done is we've come up with a 100% refund. So if anybody has to cancel because of whatever reason until this whole nonsense is over, then that way they don't have to worry about registering and losing their money.
That's a lovely thing to do. It's because I'm sure there's lots of people who'd love to come.
Well, and this year, I think what's going to happen, people are so sick of being locked up that they want to get out and see their friends and family again. And so we were sold out or close to sold out right before the pandemic. We were going to Denver, and then we switched it to Santa Fe, and then we had to cancel that. So I think we're going to be sold out earlier this year. The hotel is getting close to sold out already.
Wowie. Yeah. There's another piece of advice. You'd asked what I would tell people who were thinking about the Plein Air Convention. If you can, stay at the event hotel, because it's nice to have a base right there so you can run up to your room if you've forgotten something. And if you're in the building, you just tend to see more of the people. You get a better chance to meet the other painters than if you're staying off campus, so to speak.
Plus half the fun happens at night.
That's right. Yeah.
You don't want to drive after that.
No. I'm
Hey
continuing.
guys, I just did a predictions for 2022 for artists and galleries, and look for that on online. If Christine is watching, maybe she can put this in the comments, a link to that. That's something you might want to check out. Linda Powell says, I think the rooms are sold out. I would be surprised if they're all gone, but I'll find out today. Let you guys know. Now we're going to continue this broadcast. We started it at the beginning of COVID. We went 7 months, 7 days a week, and then we went to 5 days a week. Now we're down to 3 days a week, but we're still here. And so we're here Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays this year. And if we get all locked down again full time, then I'll come back to full time. But for now, it's kind of hard to do.
Yeah. That's quite the schedule to maintain daily.
Yeah, just about killed me.
I would think. Well, I'm glad it didn't. Gosh.
So am I. I'm even more glad than you.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
All right. So we're going to have to wrap her up here, Poppy, because we're running low on time.
Sure thing.
You want to go back to your other piece real quick?
Well, oops. Sorry, I had it clipped up where I could see it. So I did this in preparation for this event, and looking at them, there's some differences, but what I would do to this one to finish it is I would just add some dark accents in the foreground under the waves, or under the curve of the wave. I'd make sure this was a little more defined, and so that's pretty much what I would do to finish it. So just a few more fine lines, a few more details, and then I'd call it done.
Outstanding. Okay, come back on camera, because a lot of people didn't get a chance to see your lovely face.
I'm going to be upside down for a minute here. Let's see what happens. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, here I am.
Well, Poppy, thank you for doing this, and thank you for doing Watercolor Live. We're excited about that. This was really informative, and you're a great teacher. We need to do more things together.
Okay, sure. Sign me up.
All right, and we're going to put Poppy's website and everything in the comments section, so you guys can go there and check it out, go to workshops and so on. So Poppy, we'll see you when we get a chance to see you in person.
Absolutely. Thank you, Eric.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Our guest today was Poppy Balser, and I am Eric Rhodes. I want to remind you that we have a prize for comments today. If you're still in the comments and haven't left one, we're giving away the Plein Air apron. If you win it, we also have a gift for you, 101 watercolor painting tips. Just go to watercolorlive.com/101 tips. And if you can subscribe to this program, that would be appreciated. Subscribe on YouTube. So we got to get up to 100,000. We're at like 65, 70,000 now. So subscribe there on YouTube, and also just look it up at Streamline Art Video, and also follow me on Instagram and Facebook. I would appreciate that. Thank you guys for being here. Happy New Year. I had a really terrific week off, and it was just nice to be around. The entire family is in bed sick, but I made it through it without getting sick. So knock wood, it's not COVID, don't worry. Anyway, we love doing this for you guys, and I am very excited about the new year. We have a lot of things that we're launching this year that are brand new from Streamline, and you're just going to have to hang around. I know we send a lot of emails, but we're always going to be sending something new. You know, we have new video releases, about 3 a month. We have new conferences, new online conferences. We have a whole bunch of brand new things that you're going to be seeing this year that we're really excited about. So we hope that you'll get linked into us, connect with us at Streamline Art in some way. And one way to get connected is to go for one of those ebooks, and that way we can kind of send you notices of some of the things that we do. And or you can just go to our websites and find us there. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. Happy New Year. We're going to have a great year. No matter what happens, we're going to get through this together. We're going to stay positive, and we're going to stay upbeat, keep our heads in the game, stay focused, and just be together as a family of artists, a worldwide family. Please share this with your friends. When you hit the share button, it helps us expand. We have had so many stories of people who have picked up art for the first time, learned how to paint, come back to it. People who have been inspired and picked up painting. We want to bring more people. My goal is to teach 1 million people how to paint, because I know it changes hearts. And so we hope that you will share it. And when you share it, you help us change hearts. Have a terrific new year. We will see you again on Wednesday. Replays are here on the opposite days that we're not on the air. And take care. Have a really, really great year. And again, thank you for being here. It really means a lot to me. Bye-bye.